Hello and welcome to part 17 in my Japanese for Beginners series. By the end of this video, you will be able to use the very important verbs arimas and imas to describe where things are and what things exist. This lesson corresponds with pages 107 through 109 of the Genki Volume 1 textbook, but you don't need that textbook to be able to follow along.
では始めましょう。
To have and to be are pretty much the two most important verbs in any language. So arimas and imas are going to be two of the most important verbs for you to learn in Japanese. And they both mean simultaneously to have and to be kind of at the same time. The only difference between arimas and imas is arimas is for inanimate objects, whereas imas is for living beings. So if you want to say the short phrase, there is X or X exists, you say X ga arimasu for inanimate objects and X ga imasu for living beings. So here are a couple phrases using actual words. Terebi ga arimasu. That means there is a TV. A TV exists, but most like there's a TV. And then with imasu, inu ga imasu. There's a dog. A dog exists. You could also use the negative forms of these verbs to say that there isn't X. And these are the polite forms of the verbs. Anything that ends in masu is a polite verb. And the way you change a polite verb to the negative version of itself is you simply change the masu to masen. So that means Xu ga arimasen means there is no X. And then Xu ga imasen also means there is no X, but in this case, X is alive. Here is sentences with actual words. So, terebi ga arimasen, there is no TV. And then, inu ga imasen, there is no dog. So note that there is a difference between simply using the negative form of arimasu and imasu and using janai desu. You may learn from a few videos back that janai desu, if you add that to the end of a noun, it just means not that noun. So look at these two sentences. One of them, terebi ga arimasu, and the second one, terebi janai desu. So you might think as you're looking at those two sentences that they mean the same thing, no TV, but there's some slightly different nuances. Terebi ga arimasen means there is no TV, we don't have a TV. Maybe we have something else. Maybe we have a table, we have a couch, we have a computer, but we don't have a TV. Whereas terebi janai desu is more like, that's not a TV. It's like someone points at my sofa and says, それはテレビですか? And I'd say, いや、テレビじゃないですよ. Like, no, that is not a TV. And then I'd point to the TV and say, これはテレビですよ. Like, this is a TV. But テレビがありません is like, there is no TV. We don't have one. So it works the same with living things. So with some actual words and imas and imasen, セーラームーンがいません means Sailor Moon isn't here. She's not present. セーラームーンじゃないです means not Sailor Moon. So it makes a little more sense if you add a little more information to these sentences. Like for セーラームーンじゃないです you'd be like それはセーラームーンじゃないです or その人は or あの人はセーラームーンじゃないです like that person is not Sailor Moon セーラーマーキュリーですよ like she's Sailor Mercury not Sailor Moon but セーラームーンがいません is more like Sailor Moon isn't here like at all she's not in this room she doesn't exist even she's not in this episode. That's more what imasen means versus janai desu. Now, level 3, you can add a ka to the end of these short phrases to turn it into a sentence. So back to our first model sentences. Terebi ga arimasu ka means, is there a TV? Inu ga imasu ka? Is there a dog? So quick note on particles. I've been using the particle ga for all of these examples, and that's because it's just a little more commonly used in this sort of format of sentence. Something ga aru, something ga iru, something ga arimasu, something ga imasu. By the way, aru and iru are the plain versions of those verbs. But anyway, you can say X wa arimasu. You can say, X wa imas ka. And that has a slightly different nuance to it. For now, just don't worry about that nuance and how they're different. So here is another formula, way that you use arimasu. You can use it with particle ni. So we're already learning from a couple videos ago, particle ni, it has so many different uses, so many different meanings. It can express where you are going to, like a destination, gakko ni ikimasu, go to school, or it can be to describe when an event takes place, like 6時に okimasu, wake up at 6 o'clock. It can also be used with arimasu and imasu to express when an event will take place or where something is located. So here's a formula. Time ni event ga arimasu. So we use this formula already with other verbs that are not arimasu. Like I said earlier, 6時, that's a time, ni, okimasu is basically our event. But you can say an event ga arimasu, there is this event. So, 水曜日にデートがあります. 水曜日 is Wednesday, デート is date. So, on Wednesday, that's our time. Date is our event. So, there is a date. I have a date on Wednesday. And then you can also use it with location, ni, object or person ga arimasu or imasu, depending on whether or not this thing is alive or not. So Animate ni, so Animate is our location. Animate is an anime chain store in Japan. It's amazing. Otaku ga takusan imasu. So otaku, anime otaku, geeks. Takusan means a lot. So takusan imasu is there are many. So, Animate ni otaku ga takusan imasu. There are many otaku, there are many nerds at Animate. So let's go over a few model sentences using everything that we just covered. Fushigi Yuugi no manga wa teiburu no ue ni arimasu. So now I'm getting really complicated. So, Fushigi Yuugi no manga. That's basically our object, or our X. Wa, so as for Fushigi Yuugi manga, teiburu no ue, that's another chunk of this puzzle. So teiburu is table, ue is top or above. So teiburu no ue means on the table. Ni arimasu, so it is on top of the table. That's our location. Fushigi Yuugi no manga wa, so Fushigi Yuugi manga is located on top of the table. 6月に私の誕生日があります. So 6月 is our time. It's June. The 6th month, literally, if you look at the kanji. 私の誕生日, so that's the event. It's not just one word, it's two. So 私の is my, 誕生日 is birthday, so my birthday. があります, so my birthday is in June. My birthday is in June. True statement. Now notice you can also kind of rearrange the order of these things, and I'm just going to show you that same sentence organized differently. 私の誕生日が6月にあります means exactly the same thing. Notice I just swapped. As long as you keep the particles consistent, like notice how 私の誕生日, the particle that comes after that is ga, and the particle that comes after 6月 is ni. In both sentences, those particles stay consistently with those same words. So it's always 6月に, and it's always 私の誕生日が. It's just sometimes it's 6月に私の誕生日が, and sometimes it's 私の誕生日が6月に, and it's the same thing. So 私の誕生日が6月にあります. My birthday is in June. Here's a pretty commonly used phrase. 何人いますか? So note, I have particle ga in parentheses because I'm trying to teach you guys something that's gonna upset you probably. I mean, it might make you happy, but it might also upset you. All these particles that you're learning how to use, oftentimes the Japanese people just drop the particles. You don't really need them always. So, 何人いますか? So, 何人, if you say 3人, for example, or 4人, If you look at those two, you have 3 and then the kanji for people. You have 4 and the kanji for people. So 3nin means 3 people. 4nin means 4 people. So 何人, knowing that 何 means what people. So it literally means how many people. 何人いますか? So you're asking how many people are there? With a particle 何人がいますか or 何人はいますか or something like that would, that if you're using particles. But generally with this sentence, people don't use the particle. They just say 何人いますか or 何名いますか, like how many people are there. Here's another phrase that's very common and they often drop the particle. So 時間ありますか? So 時間 is time. So do you have time? Are you free? Do you have a minute? お金がない. So I'm just giving you an example of how you do the plain forms of these verbs. Nai is the plain version of the negative version of arimasu. So conjugating it, you have arimasu is the polite affirmative, arimasen is polite negative. Aru is the just plain informal positive, and then nai is the plain negative. Notice it's not aranai, even though it is an u verb. If this is like, what? Check out my video about u verbs and ru verbs. But yeah, this is one simple, this is an exception. It's just plain nai, not aranai. So お金がない. That means there's no money, but typically like if I'm just like, お金がない, it means I'm broke. I don't have any money. 君がいない. You're gonna see this phrase in all kinds of J-pop songs and anime songs. It's very tragic and romantic. Kimi is sort of the softer, kind of more romantic version of you. And then inai is the plain negative version of imasu. So it is imasu, polite positive, imasen, polite negative, iru, plain positive, and then inai. So iru is a ru verb. So 君がいない, you're gone. So now it's time for everybody's favorite part, review. Do not skip this. Find a nice, quiet, private place and practice saying these model sentences. I'm going to leave a few seconds between each model sentence. Pause it after each model sentence to actually practice saying it. And then if you want to repeat your sentences as many times as you want, I'm going to leave timestamps for all these sentences in the video description below and in a pinned comment at the top of the comment section. Go crazy, have fun. テレビがあります。犬がいます。テレビがありません。犬がいません。テレビじゃないです。セーラームーンがいません。セーラームーンじゃないです。水曜日にデートがあります。アニメイトにオタクがたくさんいます。不思議遊戯の漫画はテーブルの上にあります。6月に私の誕生日があります。私の誕生日が6月にあります。何人いますか？時間ありますか？お金がない。君がいない。Thanks for watching! In the next video in this series, you're going to learn how to speak in the past tense. Thank you to all of my patrons who support this series and the other series on my channel. Check out in the video description below if you want to get more out of this series, get worksheets and study guides, and learn Japanese even more. There's information about my Patreon in the video description below. またね!